Right, well, let's get a reader on the top macro and market themes this week to see what he's watching. Peter McGuire joins us from XM. Peter, great to see you.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Ingrid.
Yeah, only 8 days to go.
Yeah, only 8 days. Will we be getting any sleep? That's the thing.
Well, I mean, are we going to get any certainty at that point? No. It doesn't seem likely, does it?
I don't think so. That's that's the frightening aspect as far as the markets, and I'm saying Wall Street, is very much worried. If Biden landslides it or gets in, no doubt Trump's going to fight it and contest it. So this could take literally weeks, if not months, to work through. So that's the fear factor. And as far as stimulus is concerned, how does all that play also? So there are certainly some great, I think, landmines ahead of us, and unless Trump, rolls forward.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to watch when it comes to the election, but there's also quite a bit happening in the lead up. So,
absolutely.
We've got a bit of data. We've got, I think, 3 central bank meetings.
Yeah.
Markets pretty cautious ahead of an election, this particular election. But do you expect us to move much on this?
Well, we've got tons of data, with the ECB and what's happening as far as coronavirus this week. So where are they going to go as far as inflation numbers? Their PMIs were very, very, poor. And everyone's worried about, those reinfection rates. 52,000, I think, was the number, or 55,000 odd in France yesterday. So that's frightening. Where that moves forward, no doubt the ECB is going to probably look at, stimulus come December. Then you've got Bank of Japan, what do they do? And then you've got the Canadian dollar. So, yeah, it seems to be a ton of data coming out this week, Ingrid.
And locally, not a lot of data. We've got CPI, of course, Wednesday. But anything in particular that's likely to move markets, do you think?
I think, the lead up, what's going on as far as those battleground states in the US, the opinion polls is what everyone's waiting on, Andrew. That's the issue, and we're reading that, minute to minute sort of thing as far as news and what impact it has to markets. So if the Wall Street continues an uptrend this week, then I think we'll probably run off that. But if there seems to be it's exhausted and people are a little bit scared from those opinion polls, then that's going to probably put a dampener on the rest of the world's equity markets.
When we look at Europe in particular, because as we said, the coronavirus crisis certainly gets worsening there.
Yeah.
I guess the focus really is on stimulus from the EU and what comes next from the European Central Bank.
Sure.
Are they paving the way, do you think, for more stimulus going forward? It
Absolutely.
almost seems like they have to.
Well, I think so, Ingrid. There's no doubting that, and this seems to be getting far worse every single day. Those Q3 numbers that Europe is releasing this week, really are they going to have any real effect? Because the numbers coming out of coronavirus over the last 2 to 2.5 weeks out of Europe are damning. So they're not really going to have much bearing. 55,000, it's very, very difficult to understand that sort of number as far as France. America has 6 times the population of France, and their numbers are only 85,000 versus 55. So, yeah, Europe's really got a major headache ahead of it.
So what happens to the euro going forward, with this in mind, but also with the US election in mind?
I would think softness. It's around that 118 mark. There's probably going to be further softness as far as the euro. I can't see it really containing in this sort of trading range. I think it's going, softness and maybe down, 3 or 4% over the rest of this month and certainly into November.
Obviously, volatility is the word. Gold. I noticed you were...
Yes, Andrew, I was bullish last week at 1905.
You mentioned the $2,000 figure, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and it's still 1905. That US dollar's come under a little bit of pressure. Gold is the big one, and that's the elephant in the room that waits for something dramatic to happen, and that would be a contested election, or do the virus numbers hit 100,000 in the States? Really, the pandemic wraps around Europe and UK.
But both scenarios are looking quite likely this
very
point
much
too.
So, very much so. So I still believe, and I know that's putting it out there. We're 2 months from Boxing Day. It was 2 months yesterday from Christmas. So yeah, I think it's got the potential to ratchet up there and ratchet up there quickly. Silver's a standout, and gold will probably follow.
And what would get you expecting some consolidation in gold? Would it be perhaps just a certain result pretty quickly out of the election?
That would be it.
You'd see a pullback.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting a pullback. I think the fear is certainly going to be there, Ingrid, over the next matter of months and leading into 21, because there's too much uncertainty. Where do these numbers run? We were saying off air, you were saying a 35-year-old friend of yours is, the COVID 6 weeks in the UK and the impact as far as health. This is a major concern, and what are the health ramifications moving into 21? So that's really the handbrake that's out there, and how quickly do economies bounce back?
Do you feel as though investors and markets are still priced in a Biden win when you're looking sort of 2 to 3 months out, once he's in the White House?
Sure.
And what are the implications of that? Because
Tax
as far
cuts.
as
Corporate tax cuts. And probably
tax.
personal for the big income earners. And do we get a stimulus package through? Does he have control of Congress?
Yep.
And that's the other side. So if it's a clean sweep, then I think it's going. But I'm sure it's going to be contested. And Trump is not going to sit back on this.
No.
It may take. I'm not sure of a timeline, but I think it's going to take quite a number of months to work through because he has control as far as not control, but the Supreme Court is very much tilted his side, isn't it?
Well, and it has been a different election cycle, so you'd imagine he has something to say about it. Obviously
Sure.
a lot of mail-in ballots and
Exactly.
I mean, he's already been talking that up. Can I ask you about oil, though, briefly? Because we're talking election, but we're also talking coronavirus and how it's escalating overseas.
Demand destruction.
We've got lockdowns coming in. We've got, more curfews.
I was looking at Google Maps and it's very fascinating, as far as mobility across Europe, well down.
Yeah.
So that means that less people are driving, less people are moving. So what happens? Less consumption as far as oil. This is going to, I think, roll across the world. So if you've got less consumption, naturally you're going to have softer prices. It doesn't seem to be a rosy trade. Those great days where it was at 60 or 70 or 80 bucks are gone. And they're not seem to be coming back anytime soon. So there's no sense of urgency to trade oil, and probably it's going to be softer from here, not stronger. So that really is that's the issue as far as if you're a producer. From a consuming, I think it's fantastic. Softer dollar, more dollars in our pocket as far as spending, and that's probably a good thing as get an economy rolling.
Overall, though, looking like a long, hard winter in the north.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is, Andrew. It is very much so, on that macro theme. So I think everyone's very much aware of it from an equity standpoint and from currencies. And that's why the gold story, I think, has got the potential to ratchet up.
Peter, fantastic to get your views at the beginning of the trading week. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew.